Hi there everyone, I'm Wayne Davies from Spectrum Economics, and today you get to see me on camera. It's been a little while since I've been on the old camera. I've made a few videos, but mostly through voiceovers. Today you get to see me, and I'm not in my usual spot in my garage where I normally am, where I do my economics presentations. Today I'm actually by the lake. I'd normally be here with my dogs, but today it's a little bit difficult. I got a bit of equipment with me, so it's a little bit hard to bring them down. Those guys are just completely wild. Also talking about wild, I'm in a desperate need of a haircut. But anyway, I'm going to let this stand for today because I kind of want to talk about something in relation to wild. And that relates to our beloved Steem platform. Steem in particular, I think this probably most relates to, because this is the main blogging platform. And I know a lot of people that are on Steem, or pretty much everyone. You come from a country, your country is probably, in one way or another, fairly controlling. I'm here in Australia, and it's certainly that way. I know there's a lot of people from South America, and I think there's a lot of people from Asia as well, have a similar thing. Even people living in the United States. You have what we call a government, and they take control a lot of stuff, and I think a lot of people are not particularly happy with that. Me in particular, I like a lot of freedom. And as well as we got Steem and Steemit and all of the applications, we basically got the freedom to do as we like, basically. You can post whatever you want. You can post whatever photos you want to post. You can express whatever opinion you want to express. You can do that in written content. You can do that in videos. And I've done that several times. As some of you would know, I've actually had some temporary bans on some other social media. I got banned from Facebook for about 3 months. Didn't even get an explanation why. I'm back on there. I've been on there for over a year now. It's been ban free. My commercials were taken away on a lot of my YouTube videos. They changed the rules now, so I don't actually have enough subscribers to have advertisement there, so there's really no revenue in that for me. So a lot of people that are on social media, it's very difficult if you have a point of view that's a little bit different, a little bit controversial, something that's not necessarily aligning with your government and what your government says. And Steem gives you the opportunity to voice that opinion, and that's great. But there's a but. There's a big but on this one. It's quite a transition. You're going from a country where you've got a government that controls a lot of aspects of your life. There's lots of rules, lots of laws to follow, to Steem, which you don't have any of these rules. And for some people, I think that's been difficult because, for example, you see people abusing the platform. They could be spamming, they could be excessively self-voting on comments, for example, or selling votes and things like that. And I think people are reluctant to do anything because you come from a system where you got the government to step in, and I think we're all kind of used to that. But there is no government on Steem. Effectively, we are the people, we're the community, and as a community, we kind of have to act towards those things. And when I arrived, there was some, should I say, abuse on the platform, but I didn't think it was excessive. I picked up on quite a few things. What did I pick up on? Self-voting comments, I think it was. And I think it was circle voting was one of the big things then. There's quite a bit. Bots weren't too much of an issue. There are a few flag wars going on. It's ironic I talk about people not downvoting enough, but there's some cases where people actually downvote for reasons that they're not intended to do so. So basically, it is the Wild West. Essentially, you can do as you please, and there's no one there to stop you. There's no authority there to stop you. And that's why it's on the community, is actually to step up, and essentially, you've got to judge for yourself. So that's effectively why we got the downvotes. You see someone abusing the system, you see self-voting of comments, you see very low quality posts are using bots for promotion and things like that. As a community, you kind of need to step in there, and that is where we are very sorely lacking. And I've taken a good look around in terms of what posts are getting the highest rewards and how people have gone about doing that. And as the Marky Mark has, I think it's Steem. It's a very useful website. It's got the top authors. I think it's like the top 500 authors. And I've taken a good look at that, and I've looked at what people are doing, and the top ones, you got quite a few people using bots, so really that's not what they're earning. You know, someone new could think that, it's very misleading. Then we got the people where you have the one large whale account, maybe two large whale accounts, that then consistently upvoting another user, or it could be themselves. We don't know, right? And then there's the groups. They call them orca groups. A lot of orca groups, you got, you know, ranging between 100 Steem power to maybe less than that, maybe 50 Steem power up to like 300-400 Steem power, and they're all upvoting themselves. So it doesn't kind of look like it's self-voting, but it has the same effect. So you see certain people that the votes they receive are very, 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 very similar to the votes that they're giving out. Which is, it has the same effect of self-voting. And then that takes me to self-voting directly, which has become less popular. I think we've got Spaminator and Steam Cleaners. Again, they've stepped up, not so much the community, which is, I guess this is almost like, I call it the form of government, which it isn't still. It is still, it's relying off Steam Inc. So, and it's very, 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 very basic what they do. They pick out the very obvious abuse, and they kind of leave the rest to the community. And unfortunately, as a community, we haven't really responded. And it seems like you got people abusing the platform, and instead of making any response, which is difficult for reasons that downvotes are quite expensive, it's the same cost as an upvote. And of course, there are revenge or retaliatory downvotes as well on your own content. And yeah, that's not pleasant, and quite a few people react that way. And this has led to a system where people don't really do much about it. But the people that are just going on per usual, as per plan, you see good content, you upvote it, and you go on and so forth, that is diminished greatly. And instead what we're seeing is that people are participating in these voting circles. They're buying votes instead, or they're selling votes, and or even some of the hidden self-votes, you would call them, through other accounts. And it's sort of the opposite to what you would want. And I think you can blame the people on Steam and say, hey, these people are corrupt, these people are bad, but that would be the wrong thing to do. And I think, in a lot of sense, that people aren't really ready for this platform. People aren't really ready to adopt this whole Wild West system where people need to take responsibility for themselves and, for what's around them, rather than relying on a form of government to step in, because that's not going to happen. I've been pushing for code changes. That has to, someone has to develop that and has to get to the witnesses. Hasn't progressed particularly well, even though there's quite a bit of support for increasing curation rewards. That's getting people to curate content instead of selling votes. Because selling votes earns a lot more than curating. And it's going to be far more attractive thing to do. Even that may not have started off that way, when we didn't have voting bots and stuff like that, but it's sort of become the norm now, and no one seems too bothered about it. So it's kind of aligning incentives. But at the moment, nothing along those lines has really developed, which is unfortunate. I think we're going to have Steem.DAO, or DAO, I'm not sure how you pronounce that or how that's done. But anyway, with that, there could be some developments that could potentially lead to some changes to the platform, which would be great. Another thing as well is downvoting. One of the reasons downvotes doesn't happen is because they cost a lot. It's also because there's a culture against it. And that comes with the fact that you have a little flag and you have a little warning. So it's like, if you're downvoting somebody, it's like they've done something terrible, which shouldn't really be the case. It should be something like YouTube with likes and dislikes, or even with Reddit. It's along similar sort of lines, but it's treated as this, as a really nasty attack on someone by downvoting them. Even if the downvote's like 1 cent, and this reaction has made it very unpopular. So incentivizing, or should I say not disincentivizing downvotes would help, but there'd be a cultural change, but I don't know how far away we would be from that, or what changes would need to be made. But as a whole, I think as a community, I think it's sad that we're not really ready for Steem at the moment. If it goes along those lines, I'm still optimistic for Steem as a cryptocurrency. There's a lot of great apps out there. We've now got, Drug Wars, and we've also got Steem Monsters. And both of these are actually very, very popular, and it's moving away from the content, which has become fairly problematic. I'm hoping we can get some changes in there, and also if we have SMTs as well. SMTs could be an interesting experiment where we've got different rules in regards to voting that could change people's behavior. But I think this is something that's it's gonna take a while, and it's gonna become even more difficult as this sort of behavior that I've described, the self-voting, the circle voting, the vote selling, the vote buying, all of that has become such a part of what Steam is now, not something that's frowned upon anymore. I sell votes as well. I try to create content, but I need to sell some as well, because my posts are not really making anything at all of these days, because I'm not part of any of these voting circles and stuff like that. So I can understand why people would sell, and the fact that curation rewards are bad too. But with the changes, I know that I would certainly put a lot more effort into curating if there were higher curation rewards. And I think I mentioned this before, but I can't make those changes. As a community, we can push towards those. It's going to become difficult as a lot of people become set in their ways. So that part, I feel it's a little bit sad, but it's like I've said in this video before, I don't necessarily blame the community for that, because Steam is something so totally different than anything you've experienced or currently experiencing in your life. We still live in, you know, in the world where we have government, we have enforcement along those lines. So it is quite a lot to adapt to, and it is very, very difficult to take in. And, you know, but if change is going to happen, we are a decentralized community. We can't wait for someone else to do it. We have to be part of that change, and we've got to, you know, take some form of action. Anyway, this has taken me to the end of what I wanted to say. Don't mean this is a downer. I still feel very positive about Steam, but it is, in terms, like I said, of community, it's a difficult one to get over. And this is my thoughts on that. If you're watching this on YouTube, give me a like and subscribe. If you're watching this on Steam, it'll be as a YouTube video as well. Remember to give me an upvote if you're not selling votes, and also give me a follow, and a re-steam would be great as well. Okay, thanks guys.